on, come all, and don't despair, your battle's almost won. By watching my short lessons here, you'll learn your training's fun. I'm Dr. Katie Bramlett, and this is Ear Training for All Musicians. In this video, we're going to cover the topic of the major scale and talk about what the major scale is. In some previous videos, I've discussed pitch, what is pitch, the highness and lowness of pitch, and I've also covered a little bit about melodic contour. So if you're not familiar with those topics and you haven't seen those videos, go ahead and give them a watch. A lot of the music that we play and listen to and sing is built on a special pitch collection known as the major scale. So it's likely a very familiar sound to you. I'll go ahead and play a major scale for you now. Now, in order to understand how to construct or build or play or sing a major scale, there are some terms that we should cover first. One is that the major scale is built of a series of intervals we call steps. And the term interval just means the distance between two pitches. And there are two different kinds of steps in this scale. There's the whole step and the half step. The half step is the smallest interval that we have in our system of music that uses major and minor scales. The whole step spans the distance of two half steps. So I'll play some examples of half steps for you. Here are some examples of whole steps. So the pattern of whole steps and half steps that we need to build a major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Kind of has a rhythm to it. So, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. W's for whole steps, H's for half steps. To practice playing whole steps and half steps yourself, for example on a piano, half steps always occur between two keys that are right next to each other on the keyboard. So whether it's white key to a black key or a black key to the nearest white key, or sometimes as you look across the keyboard, you'll notice that there are places where we have two white keys next to each other. And in that case, those two white keys that are right next to each other create a half step when you play them either together or in succession. To find whole steps on the keyboard, you skip over a key. So let's say you start on a white key, skip over a black key and play the next white key. Or if you start on a black key, play the black key and skip over the white key in between, play the next black key. Now, again, where you've got those naturally occurring half steps on the keyboard, you'd need to skip over that white key in the middle in order to create a whole step. So, for example, where you've got one of those, you'd play white key, skip over the white key right next to it, and then play the next black key. So you'll notice at this point that I'm not talking about the names of pitches in terms of letter names, like C or C sharp or E flat, that kind of thing. The reason I'm avoiding that at this point is because I want you to really be listening to these kinds of patterns and finding them by ear. Later, we'll talk about pitches in terms of their letter names. For now, we'll be talking about intervals strictly in whole steps and half steps, and we'll be using a system for naming pitches called solfege. So if you've ever seen the musical The Sound of Music, you've heard the song, Do, a deer, a female deer, Re, a drop of golden sun. This song has the solfege syllables in it. Now, before I learned solfege as, a real music student, I thought that those silly syllables were just nonsense in the song in The Sound of Music. But actually, they're a tool that musicians use, professional musicians, amateur musicians, use these syllables in order to talk about pitch. Now, the way that we're going to use solfege is a method or a system called movable do. Okay? So for our major scale, do is always going to be our home pitch. So the solfege syllables in order are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then we're back to do again. So here's how the syllables apply to our whole step and half step pattern. Do to re is a whole step. Then re to mi is also a whole step. Mi to fa is our first half step in the major scale. Fa to sol is a whole step. Sol to la is a whole step. La to ti is a whole step. And then ti to do is a half step. So we have two half steps in the major scale between mi and fa and ti and do. We'll find later that this is really important to remember and keep in mind as you're learning melodies by ear. So here's the way it goes if you sing a major scale using solfege. From our starting pitch that we used earlier, here would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do to re is a whole step. Re to mi, whole. Mi, fa. There you can feel that's closer. Mi to fa is a half step. Fa, sol, whole step. Sol, la, whole step. La, ti, whole step. And then ti, do, half step. There it's closer again. Ti, do. The cool thing about this pattern is that we can move do to any pitch we want, and as long as we follow that same pattern of whole steps and half steps, we're going to get a major scale. This is the pattern that makes the major scale. If you get any other pattern of whole steps and half steps, it's a different scale. A moment ago, we sang the major scale starting on this pitch here. Again, it doesn't matter what the pitch is. You don't need to know the letter name of it. So we sang our scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, now let's move that starting pitch somewhere else. Let's go, let's say here. Okay, new pitch. Now, same pattern of whole steps and half steps, starting from this new home pitch, which is now do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Has the same feeling, right? As the last scale, which was here. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So the cool thing about learning solfege and how it applies to the major scale is that you can listen to melodies that are in major keys, and once you kind of pick out where the home pitch is, you can then figure out all the other pitches. That means that you can learn to play or sing that melody by ear with confidence that you've got the right pitches. So let's apply this idea to a really simple, well-known melody. How about Mary Had a Little Lamb, okay? So I'll play part of the melody for us. Okay, so there's our melody. So let's figure out where is the home pitch. In order to do that, we have to find that pitch that feels most stable, most final. It's least, tense, right? It feels like home. So back to the melody. That pitch by itself doesn't really feel too final. But what if I scale down here? There's our home pitch. Do, I know? From there, I can apply our whole step, half step pattern, and it feels right, it fits. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, back to the beginning of the melody. This pitch here. Now, how far away is this pitch from do? Well, let's find do again. Do, that's home. The pitch we're looking for our starting pitch is, now that we found do, we can figure it out. Do, re, mi. There it is. Mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. What's next? Re, re, re. Back up a step. Mi. Then here we skip. Okay, so everything so far has been stepwise motion, or notes that are right next to each other in the scale. Okay, at this point in the melody, we have a skip from mi to this pitch. So to find it, let's scale. We can either scale from where we're stopped, which is mi, up a half step, fa, up a whole step, sol, mi, sol, sol. There it is. You can do that, or if you still have do in mind, which you should, do, we know we're looking for this pitch, do, re, mi, fa, sol. I'm going in fast forward, but that's how you can find the pitch as well. All right, so far we have mi, re, do, re, mi, 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 re, 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 mi, sol, sol, all while keeping this reference of do kind of droning in the backs of our minds to help us find all the other pitches in the melody. Then just like with our major scale, how we could move do around, right, to a new home depending on where we want to start, we can do the same with our Mary Had a Little Lamb melody. So we were here, mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. Okay, let's move it up to where I moved the scale earlier. So this was our new home. Okay, so now this is do. So now what's our new starting pitch? Do, re, mi. Here. Mi, re, do, re, mi, mi, mi. Re, 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 mi, sol, sol. Okay, so once you figure out the solfege pattern and how it applies, you can move the melodic shape to any key, what we call a key. And the key is named based on the pitch that is home. In a future video, I'll explain how the solfege system applies to specific scales based on the letter names of those pitches in the scale. So here's some homework to practice. Take melodies like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Happy Birthday, and Kumbaya, and see if you can figure out the solfege for those melodies. You can post your answers below, and I'll tell you if you've got it correct. So give it a shot, see how it goes, have fun, and as always, subscribe, like, share my videos, and I'll keep posting. Keep in touch, let me know what you'd like to see and hear, and I'll see you later.